So, you call yourself a king, but are you a man first? Let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? This is Leroy, and you've just tuned into the most regal, the most royal brand that you ever gonna come across in the land, baby. And that's KQZ, Kings and Queens. Kings, Ray Knights, fellas, I want to talk to you. Okay, I want to chop it up with you in this video. I'm going to try not to take up too much of your guys' time because I know you got things that you got to do. Queens, ladies, Rainettes, y'all can sit this one out. Okay, y'all can sit on the bench for this one. Although you're more than welcome to hang out with us, fellas, and see what I'm about to dive into. But I'm letting you know ahead of time, ladies, this specific video is not for you. Okay, I'm producing this video strictly for the fellas. Okay, and y'all got some idea of what I'm about to talk about because I'm sure you've seen the title of the video, of course. But this video is for the fellas. All right, so let me just get right into it. Fellas, all right, you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, you clicked on the video, and I appreciate that, by the way, before I forget. So you call yourself a king, but are you a man first? All right. Let me start this video up by saying this. Fellas, you probably have noticed within recent years, it's become very popular, very fashionable. It's become in vogue for a lot of dudes to go around calling themselves a king. All right. You see this particularly on the internet. We see this a lot, you know. Everywhere you turn, dudes are referring to themselves by this term, a king. You know, king this, king that. I'm the king of this, I'm the king of that. King, king, king. Okay? And of course, it should go without saying, we don't mean a literal king, all right? As in someone who has absolute rulership, power, dominion, or sovereignty over a nation or a people. Okay? We don't mean a literal king. Okay, this is just a term that a lot of dudes refer to themselves as who hold themselves in high regard or high esteem. Okay, but you may be one of those individuals who refer to yourself by this term, a king. All right, LeBron James, he's adopted the moniker King James since the inception of his professional basketball career. Even my name, Leroy, it's an old French name which literally translates into the king. All right. But like I say, you may be one of those individuals who call yourself by this term a king, all right? But fellas, listen to me, all right? Listen to me. I know it sounds cool. I know it sounds empowering to, you know, lift your head up, stick your chest out and call yourself a king. But before we go around calling ourselves by this term, fellas, it is very important that we make sure that we're being men first and foremost, 24/7, 365 days out the year. All right, no days off when it comes to being a man, fellas. All right, I'm gonna say it again. Before we go around calling ourselves a king, we have to make sure that we're being a man first and foremost. Okay. Now, this is a subject that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. I have seen other dudes talk about this subject, you know, manhood, you know, manhood, masculinity. And so what I wanted to do was just throw my 2 cents on the table, and hopefully what I got to say, it'll resonate with you on some level. Okay. But, you know, if you were to juxtapose or compare and contrast today's generation with the generations in the past, you know, when I say past generations, I'm talking about the men who raised us, our fathers, uncles, grandfathers, etc. You should notice. Now, I'm an 80s baby, all right? So I'm getting up there in age. I'm not old, but I'm getting up there in age. But if you were to compare and contrast today's generations with past generations, you should notice, like I have, fellas, that there seems to be a sharp decline in manhood, all right? In masculinity, okay? As the saying goes, they don't make them like they used to. Okay. Now, a lot of people suspects that there's this grand conspiracy to sap the manhood out of men, to sap masculinity out of men for the purposes of making society a lot more easy to socially engineer. Because they know if you don't have strong men around, if you don't have masculine men around, people aren't going to be willing to put up any type of resistance toward any nefarious plots, schemes, or agendas that the quote-unquote powers that be are trying to implement against the masses. Okay, so what I wanted to do, fellas, in this video was not give you a textbook definition of what a man is, because if you look up the term man, if you Google the word man, it's going to give you an oversimplified definition of the term. It's going to say something along the lines of a grown adult male. Okay, now me personally, I like to differentiate between the two. All right, there's a difference between a grown adult male and a man. All right, all men are grown adult males, fellas, but not all grown adult males are necessarily men. Follow me? Okay, so I'm not going to give you a textbook definition of what a man is, but what I am going to do in this video is just give you some of the traits, some of the characteristics, the components or attributes that I think constitute or make up what a man is. All right, now I'm not going to go over every nook and cranny of what a man is. I'm just going to give you some of the basics, the essentials, or the fundamentals of what a man is. Okay, also, my word is not law, my word is not God. This is just my opinion. Okay, so you don't have to agree with me. All right, although I do think you'd be hard pressed to disagree with anything that I'm about to expound on in this video, but you don't have to agree with me. I just want to give you something to get you thinking, put something on your mind to get you thinking. Okay, but before I give you these traits and characteristics of what makes up a man, you know, let me make something very clear, fellas. Just because you are a man doesn't mean that you're perfect or you get everything right. All right, or that you never fall short or make a mistake. Okay, as we traverse through this thing called life, every swing is not going to be a home run. Okay, so even though you are a man, you're still a human being, and to be human means you are inherently flawed. You are innately flawed. Okay, so I just want to get that out the way. Just because you are a man don't make you perfect. First, let me go over what doesn't necessarily make you a man. All right, fellas, just because you've reached the age of 18 or the age of 21, that doesn't make you a man. All right, you may be a grown adult male, but that doesn't make you a man. All right, there's a saying that goes like this: I can't take credit for it, I'm just sharing it with you. Okay, fellas, you are not a man once you've reached a certain age. You've only become a man once you've reached a certain state of mind. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. Fellas, you are not a man just because you've reached a certain age. You've only become a man once you've reached a certain state of mind. Okay, so age doesn't determine manhood. All right, we got a lot of 18, 21, 25, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus grown adult males out here, but they're not necessarily men. Okay, now in the eyes of the law, yeah, once you reach the age of 18, you know, you're considered a man. You know, you go out here, you break certain laws, they're gonna look at you as a man. I get that. As we all know, once you reach the age of 18, you can enlist in the service. All right, but in my opinion, age doesn't determine you becoming a man. All right. Furthermore, fellas, just because you real tall, that doesn't make you a man. All right. Just because you got big muscles, that don't make you a man either. All right. Just because you got facial hair, you know, that don't make you a man. All right. Just because you got big muscles, or just because you have
a deep voice, that don't make you a man either.
And most certainly, fellas, just because you got balls in between your legs, that does not make you a man. All right. Now, those may be some of the aesthetics that may indicate that you are a male, doesn't make you a man. All right. But what does make up or constitute a man? First and foremost, fellas, a man must have a purpose. All men, fellas, must have a purpose. Or in other words, fellas, what were you put on this earth to do? What were you put on this earth to build? What were you put on this earth to create or produce? Okay, all men, fellas, must have a purpose. All right, there's another saying I want to share with you. I didn't come up with it, I'm just sharing it with you. All right, the saying goes like this: the two most important dates in your life is the day that you were born and the day that you find out why you were born. I'm going to say it again. The two most important dates in your life is the day that you were born and the day that you find out why you were born. In other words, the day that you find out what your purpose is the second most important day of your life. All men must have a purpose. No man's purpose was simply to be born, work, pay bills, eventually retire, and die off. You weren't put on this earth to simply exist and not live. And part of truly living your life, fellas, is living with purpose. Now, the younger you are, the sooner you find this out, the better. All right. And if you don't know what your purpose is, I want to encourage you, fellas, to spend some alone time by yourself, give it some serious thought, and find out what your purpose is. Okay. I can't tell you what your purpose is. Your mama can't tell you what your purpose is. Your pops, your family, your friends, no one. You are the only steward of your own life, fellas. Okay. The sooner you find out what your purpose is, the better. And once you find out what your purpose is, you need to work on your purpose each and every day. All right. Or as much as you possibly can. But a man must have a purpose. Too many so-called men traverse through this thing called life, just going through the motions, merely existing and not truly living with purpose. All right. So the sooner you find this out, the better. And once you find out, work on your purpose each and every day. But a man must have a purpose. All right. Secondly, fellas, number 2, a man must be about action. All right. A man must be about taking action, getting shit done, or as my pops would always tell me growing up, handling business. All right. My pops would always tell me that growing up, son, handle your business. All right. Fellas, always remember, manhood or masculinity in its purest form is taking action. All right. Manhood, masculinity in its purest form is taking action, fellas. You got to be a man who's about taking action. All right. Small 6-letter word. Most people in the world really ain't about it. Taking action is really about handling business and taking care of the things that you know needs to be taken care of, small or big. All right. Not being a spectator, not always being on the defensive, but mainly being on the offensive. All right. Not procrastinating, not waiting till small problems become big problems. All right. It's all about not just sitting on the sidelines waiting for things to happen in your life before you decide to get up off your ass and take action. All right. You got to be about taking action, fellas. All right. No matter what it is. All right. You know them dirty dishes is in the sink and need to be washed. Handle your business. All right. You know your house need to be cleaned up. Floor need to be vacuumed. Sheets on the bed need to be changed. Take action, fellas. You know that check engine light been on your dashboard for about 3 months. Yeah, you see it every morning when you crank your car up. Handle your business. All right. That paperwork that's been sitting on your coffee table for the past 5-6 months, you know it need to be filled out and turned in. Handle your business, fellas. That important phone call that you've been ducking and dodging, procrastinating and putting off, handle that, fellas. All right. Point being, fellas, men have to be about the business of taking action, getting shit done, being results oriented, not waiting, moping around, wallowing, waiting for things to happen in your life before you decide to do what needs to be done. Action is all about seeing something that needs to be done and doing it. period, because that's what men do. And part of taking action, fellas, is being a man of discipline. A man must practice discipline. All right, now, what is discipline? Discipline, fellas, is choosing tomorrow's success over today's pleasure. Okay? Discipline is when you put off instant or immediate gratification for tomorrow's victories or tomorrow's goals or tomorrow's aspirations. Okay? Discipline is when you really don't feel like doing something that you know that you should do, and you get up off your behind and do it anyway. And on the flip side of that, discipline is also when you really want to do something that you know that you shouldn't be doing, and you choose not to do it. Let me give you a few examples. All right? Discipline, fellas, is you notice you go to the gym and get your workout on. All right? But you really don't feel like it. You really don't feel like it. You rather stay at home, grab you a big bag of Doritos, Cool Ranch, of course, and plop your ass on the couch and binge watch your favorite Netflix series. All right? But because you are a man who's practicing discipline, you choose not to stay at home and eat those Doritos and watch TV. You decide to get up off your behind and go to the gym and get your workout on. Why? Because you are a man who's practicing discipline. All right? Discipline, fellas, is when you're trying to cut back on the alcohol consumption, or you're smoking. All right? And you really feel like blazing one up or taking a sip of some alcohol. All right? Crown Royal Black, of course. Know what I'm talking about? But because your health is important to you, fellas, you choose not to blaze one up. All right? Or you choose not to take a sip of that alcohol. All right? Discipline could be, you got that important exam coming up next week. You may be trying to get your insurance adjuster's license or your real estate license. All right? But you really don't feel like studying. You rather watch TV or go shoot some pool with the fellas or whatever. But because you are a man of discipline, you choose not to hang out with the fellas. You decide to stay home and hit the books because your success is important to you. All right? Discipline could be, you really want to slap the hell out of somebody because they're talking real spicy to you. They're giving you a lot of lip, a lot of attitude. All right? And you want to just smack them. All right? But because you are a man who's trying to practice discipline, you choose not to do that. You choose to practice restraint. All right? But just to drive the point home, fellas, discipline is when you really want to call that a fine honey dip over, because she got that fire, all right? But this woman come with a lot of headaches. She come with a lot of problems. And because you are a man who's trying to practice discipline, you choose not to make that phone call. Point being is this, fellas. Part of taking action is being a man of discipline. Doing the things that we really don't want to do and not doing the things that we know that we shouldn't do. All right? Next up, fellas. Not playing the victim. Not playing the victim. Fellas, listen to me. It is unbecoming. It is unattractive for a woman, of course. It is weak for a man to go around painting himself as a victim, particularly when it's not even appropriate or warranted. A man does not go around painting himself as a victim. Basically what I'm saying is a man doesn't go around pointing the finger, blaming everything and everybody for his situation or circumstance that he's in his life. Okay? He doesn't blame everything and everybody on his lot in life. All right? Now, don't get me wrong. People in this life are definitely, and trust me, I got personal experience with this big time. In this life, people are going to do things to put you in a bad situation or circumstance. Don't get me wrong. That is true. But fellas, always remember this. In this life, you are either going to be a victim or a victor, but it can't be both. All right? You're either going to be a conqueror or conquered, but it cannot be both, fellas. All right? Choose ye this day, fellas, to be a victor and not the victim, a conqueror and not conquered. All right? When you find yourself in messed up situations and circumstances, fellas, the very first thing you should do is look in the mirror and ask yourself, what did I do to put myself in this situation? What did I do to contribute to the negative circumstance that I found myself in. Don't get me wrong, you just may very well be in the situation that you're in because of the actions of somebody else. Don't get me wrong, but choose, starting today, fellas, not to be defined by the situation or circumstance that you found yourself in. Because that's what a man does. A man looks at his situation, and if he isn't happy, if he isn't satisfied, he chooses to be a victor over his situation and circumstance. He chooses to be a conqueror over his situation and circumstance. But whatever you do not paint yourself as a victim, period. All right? Now, we live in a world where people love to paint themselves as victims, mainly for two reasons. Number one, painting yourself as a victim, it garners you a lot of attention. All right? We all know this, especially on social media. People love to, paint themselves as victims because it gets them a lot of attention. As we all know, we live in an age of clout or clout chasing. All right? That's what painting yourself as a victim does. It gets you a lot of attention. Another reason why people love to paint themselves as victims is because it absolves them of personal responsibility and accountability. All right? In other words, it keeps them from owning their own shit. So what I want to encourage you, fellas, when you find yourself in messed up situations and circumstances that you're not happy about, choose to own your shit. Hold yourself responsible and accountable for your own life. All right? That's what men do. All right? Now, a lot of people like to use responsibility and accountability interchangeably. Me personally, I think there's a difference. All right? Responsibility, fellas, is what you do in order to prevent the shit from hitting the fan. All right? Accountability is what you do after the shit has already hit the fan. All right? But fellas, whatever you do, when you find yourself in messed up situations and circumstances, the very first thing you should do is look in the mirror and look at yourself and see what you did to contribute and put yourself in that messed up situation and circumstance. All right? Even if you in that situation by the actions of somebody else, own your shit. All right? And after you do that, choose to be a victor and a conqueror over your situation and circumstance. But whatever you do as a man, do not paint yourself as a victim. That is the complete antithesis of what a man is. All right? Next up, fellas, control your emotions. All right? Control your emotions. Control your emotions. Now notice, I didn't say don't have emotions. All right? Don't get me wrong. Nothing wrong with having emotions. Now, I'm a firm believer if God, and listen here, if you don't believe in God, that's fine. That's your business. I'm not going to argue with you about that. But, if God or nature didn't want men to have emotions, we simply wouldn't have them. All right? The problems start, fellas, when we allow our emotions to control or dictate our behavior. That's when the problems creep in. All right? Do not allow emotions to have reign, rule, and dominion over your actions and behaviors, fellas. All right? There are a lot of dudes, or people in general, not just, men. There are a lot of people dead and in the grave right now, fellas, because they allowed their emotions to control their actions, their behavior. All right? I'm going to say it again. There are a lot of people dead or in prison right now because they allowed their emotions to have reign, rule, and dominion over their actions. Don't be that person, fellas. As men, it is critical, it is crucial that we be men of logic and reasoning. All right, now we're not perfect. Like I said, we got emotions. All right, we're not perfect. Sometimes we slip up, sometimes we fall short. But more times than not, fellas, we have to be men who control our emotions. All right. Now I just got through reading a book called The Molecule of More. Very good book. And there's a line in there, fellas, that says, emotions are a liability that interferes with you taking calculated action. Again, your emotions are a liability that interferes with you taking calculated actions. That's the problem with emotions. All right, what they do is they cloud our judgment, and the number one emotion that clouds our judgment is the emotion of anger. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of people dead in jail and prison right now because they allowed their emotions to turn into a liability that prevented them, that interfered with them taking calculated action, fellas. We must learn to control our emotions as men, period. All right. Now, I'm real big into something called Stoicism. Some of you may have heard about it. I was introduced to it by my favorite author, Ryan Holiday. Very, very good author. All right. But what Stoicism is, Stoicism, I think I spelled it right. What Stoicism is, fellas, it's a philosophy that encourages you or teaches you to control your emotions. All right. Stoicism is basically not allowing your external world to have a negative or detrimental effect on your internal world. All right, fellas, it's called Stoicism. And those who practice Stoicism are called Stoics. Stoics. All right. And the three most popular Stoics was Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor. You had Epictetus and Seneca. Those were the three most popular Stoics. All right. But it's called Stoicism, just in case if you might want to look into it. All right. But point being is this, fellas, we must learn to control our emotions. All right. The problem with becoming emotional, fellas, when we become emotional, we become irrational. When we become irrational, we make rash decisions. And when we make rash decisions, fellas, we create problems for ourselves, or we'll turn a small problem into an even bigger problem. Point being is this: nothing creates more problems in your life when you allow your emotions to dictate and control your actions, your behavior. All right. As men, we must control our emotions. Period. Part of being a man is being a leader. First and foremost of yourself and of others, if need be. But you can't be a good leader, fellas, if you allow your emotions to control your actions, to control your behavior. All right, fellas. But point being is this: as men, it is crucial, it is imperative, it is very important that we learn that we tilt to the side of logic and reasoning and not our emotions. And last but not least, fellas, no fear. No fear, fellas. All right. Let me tell you about fear. I believe, fellas, that fear is the worst disease on the planet. All right. Fear is the worst disease on the planet. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make light of someone who may have heart disease. I'm not trying to make light of someone who may have diabetes. I'm not trying to make light of someone who's battling cancer or any type of disease or, sickness or illness. All right. But fellas, in my opinion, fear is the worst disease on the planet. And what I mean is there's way too many people in the world who allow fear to keep them from doing the things that they want to do. They allow the spirit, the attitude, the emotion of fear to keep them from going out and trying to accomplish the things that they truly want to accomplish in this life. All right. There are a lot of people dead in the grave right now, fellas, who went through this thing called life, not going after the things that they truly wanted to go after because they allowed fear to paralyze them and keep them from going after it. All right. So fellas, I want to encourage you. If you have any iota, any modicum of fear in your life, get rid of it. Do what you got to do to eradicate and decimate any fear that you may have in your life. I don't care what it is. If there's something that you want to do, fellas, go after it and give it your all. Period. You do not want to get to your life looking back on it, once you've gotten old and gray and you got a whole bunch of regrets staring back at you. All right. If there's something that you want in this life, fellas, go after it. Period. No excuses. All right. Because that's what a man does. A man does not live his life in fear. If there's something that you want to do, fellas, go after it. All right? If you want to start a business or a brand, go after it, fellas. No excuses. If you want to go to school and get your degree, go after it, fellas. No excuses. All right? If you want to ask your boss for a raise that you know damn well that you are deserving of, fellas, go after it. No excuses. All right? I don't give a damn if it's something as simple as walking up to the finest honey dip in the room and asking for her number. Asking her out on a coffee date or a dinner date. Do it, fellas. Point being is this. Fellas, do what you gotta do and face your fears. If you are dealing with fear in any area of your life, you need to handle that. All right? And the best medicine, the best antidote, the best remedy for dealing with your fears is taking action. All right? You can read all the books you want. You can repeat as many affirmations as you want. You can watch as many YouTube or Facebook videos or Instagram videos as you want. The best remedy to dealing with your fears is taking action. You gotta face your fears, fellas. All right? Because listen to me. I've got a lot of experience with this. If you do not deal with your fears, if you do not face your fears head on, they have a way of metastasizing and spreading into other areas of your life. And before you know it, your whole life was rife with fear. All right? I was involved in a very bad car accident in August of 2009, all right, which left me paralyzed and in a wheelchair, all right? And for a very long time, fellas, I was afraid to go out and face the world in my state and in my condition, all right? My self-esteem, my self-confidence took a major blow, major blow, all right? My mother tried talking to me. My pops tried talking to me. I had family and friends tried talking to me, but I wasn't trying to hear it, all right? But it wasn't until I woke up one day and I just told myself, Leroy, a man doesn't live his life in fear, all right? You can't call yourself a man when you live in your life day in and day out living in fear, all right? So I just began to work on myself. I began to work up enough courage to go out and face the world on the regular. All right, and now don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna lie to you, it wasn't an overnight transition. All right, it wasn't an overnight transition, but little by little, inch by inch, day by day, I worked up enough nerve to leave the house. Okay, point being is this, fellas, a man doesn't live his life in fear. Whatever you want to do, I encourage you to do it, and to not live your life in fear, because that's what a man does. A man does not live his life in fear. If there's anything that you want to do, anything that you want to accomplish, go after it. And don't get me wrong, fellas, everything that we set out to do isn't going to be a victory. Every endeavor that we embark on is not going to be a success in life, all right? But always remember this, fellas. Fellas, it is always better to try something and give it your absolute all and fail at it than for you to not try it all and you regret it later on. Always remember, failure is a billion times better than regret. Always remember, it's better to try something and fail, and utterly fail, fall flat on your face, than for you to not try it all and end up being hunted by regret later on. Always choose failure over regret. All right, fellas? Once again, if there's anything that you want to have, obtain, accomplish in this life, go after it and give it your all, because that's what a man does. A man does not allow himself to be paralyzed by the spirit, the attitude, the emotion of fear. All right, that is the complete opposite of what a man is. All right, no fear, fellas, period. But hey, listen, that's all I got for you today, fellas. I just wanted to put something on your mind, put something on your heart, give you something to, think about. Okay, like I said, I wasn't going to go over every nook and cranny of what a man is. All right, but before we go around calling ourselves kings, I know it sounds cool and all that, we have to make sure that we have a strong, firm foundation of what it means to be a man first. All All right. Now, once we got that foundation down pat, we have to exemplify that each and every day, 24/7, 365 days out the year, fellas. Okay. No days off when it comes to being a man. We need men. Society needs strong, positive, constructive, productive, noble, righteous men. All right. And if we don't have that, everybody suffers. All right. All households need strong men who exude manhood, who exude masculinity. All right. Especially if that household has kids in them. All right. These children, these babies, especially these young boys, they need good, positive examples of men being men, men exuding manhood, exuding masculinity. All right. There's a deficit in this area, fellas. Okay. Seriously. If manhood was a person, his ass will be on life support. All right. And it looks like they're about to pull the plug. All right. But it's up to us, fellas, to be men and carry the baton of manhood, of masculinity, and prevent the quote-unquote powers that be from pulling the plug on manhood. All right. But hey, I ain't gonna hold y'all up. I appreciate you hanging out with me. And to all my queens that's out there, if you hung out with me on this video, I appreciate you watching me. All right. But hey, listen, before I let you go, if you rock with me, if what I said resonated with you on some level, if you rock with the video, if you rock with the brand, most importantly, I appreciate it if you gave me a like, if you subscribed and all that good stuff. Y'all know how this thing goes. Y'all know how the internet and social media work. I appreciate it if you gave me a like and subscribe. If you know any other kings and queens such as yourself, I appreciate it if you shared this video and just got their opinion. Oh, fellas, before I let y'all go, make sure you put in the comment section what are some of the traits and characteristics, the attributes or components that you think constitute or make up a man. All right. Like I say, I wasn't going to go over everything, but put in the comment section some of the things that you think make up a man. But hey, listen, I ain't going to hold y'all up. I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to holler at you next time. But before I let you go, always remember, you are not incapable. You are not worthless. You are not powerless. You know what you are? You are.